What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming at you with a special edition of Bardo's Breakdown. Hope you guys have enjoyed your holiday weekend. I know I did immensely. Ate too much, drank a little bit too much, but that's okay. Got a chance to spend some great time with my family, so I hope you guys did as well. I'm Stephen Bardo. If you don't know, I'm the host of Bardo's Breakdown, the best basketball show online. Please like, share, and comment on this particular video. It really helps grow my channel, and smash that like button for me because I really, really appreciate it. Today, I've got one of my great teammates. He was the #1 player in the country coming out of high school, King High School in Chicago. Marcus Liberty was an outstanding talent, is even better human being. I think you're going to get a lot out of this interview. And please share with people that you think would like this content because, you know, you're not always going to find former Big Ten players to come and be interviewed and to give their side. And every time I do one of these videos, I learn something new, even from Marcus, who was my college teammate. I still learn some new things because I love doing these interviews and having people share their personal experience. So I know you're going to love it. Please comment and let me know because I come back and check these and we can open up a dialogue, whatever you want to do. But stay tuned because Marcus Liberty is coming up next. Thanks for watching Bardo's Breakdown, y'all. Peace. What's going on, y'all? It's your man, Stephen Bardo, coming back at you with another special edition. Now, this one's near and dear to my heart because this is my man right here. We've been knowing each other for 30-plus years. I probably should have said that, Liv, but my man Marcus Liberty joins me today. Marcus, how you doing?
Man, I'm good, Bardo. Man, how about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks a lot for taking the time to join. I know my fans, they loved you when you played. They love what you're doing on Facebook with your show. They love what you're doing with the kids. So we'll get into all that. But I want to kind of go in chronological order because, you know what, Liv, I think it's important to kind of show where are they now and kind of update people on what some of the Big Ten greats are doing. So let's start out by sharing with people how dominant you were as a high school player here in Chicago. Why were you so successful at such an early age, Marcus?
Well, Bardo, first of all, man, thank you for having me on your show. And it was all about the upbringing, man, the neighborhood I came from, my siblings, my 2 older brothers, my father, they all introduced me to the game of basketball. And I say this a lot, Bardo, to a lot of people. When you want to play this game, you got to really, if you really want to play it, you got to be mentally prepared. And I think my dad and my brothers, they prepared me for what's to come, by knocking me down on my butt, by teaching me the fundamentals, by teaching me to be a team player at certain times. And then when you got to take over the game, you got to take over the game. Mm-hmm. So I had all that growing up. And plus I had cousins that played, other family members that played basketball. So, and then you learn things from them. So that's what made me who I became, have become when I was playing basketball in Chicago.
And Marcus, when we were younger coming up, it seemed as though it was a magical time in Chicago high school basketball. I mean, every year it was some, yourself, Lowell Hamilton, Benji, God rest his soul, Nick Anderson, and then we can go before Hershey Hawkins, Terry Cummings, Zeke, Isaiah Thomas. Why was that seemed to be the golden era of basketball in Chicago? Why do you think that was during that time?
Well, because for one, there wasn't any social media, if it was social media back then, it would probably be like it is right now, how many, likes and how many posts and guys getting dunked on, crossed over. I mean, Isaiah Thomas was one of the best ball handlers that we have ever seen.
Yep.
And can you imagine if they had social media back then? So I think we didn't have the social media. And if you was that dude, you'll be in the paper, not no videos. You'll just be in the newspaper and then you get the clippings and you post it on your wall or in your scrapbook. not a lot of people will see it, as now everything is out in the open for this generation. So I think back then we were just hooping and having fun, but still wanted to get that recognition from your peers.
Yeah, I love how you put that, man, because that is true. If there was social media around with all the ballers that were here in Chicago, man, it would have been straight mixtapes all day long out of here for sure.
That's right.
And I don't know, Marcus, that a lot of people, we all did. We loved Daryl. God rest his soul, your brother, Smooth, Daryl Liberty. Can you share with our audience how important his presence was for your development as a young man and as a basketball player?
Yeah, I mean, Daryl was closer to my age. It was only a 2-year, gap between the two of us. So people used to always think we were twins anyway. So because we was always, close to each other, hand in hand. But just watching him, how he carried himself, he would go to any neighborhood and play and didn't care who was supposed to be that guy. And I was watching him, and then sometimes I see him talk a lot of trash and he's coming across half court shooting a jump shot. So I learned a lot from him, and he guided me when he knew that he didn't want to take this thing to a whole nother level of basketball. He's just poured everything inside of me. He came and supported me, when I wasn't playing the way he thought I was capable of playing, he would get on me.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Marcus isn't going to tell you, Daryl could hoop, like hoop.
Well, Bardo, I mean, I don't like to brag, as you know.
Yeah.
But my two older brothers, to me, was the ones that's supposed to be in the NBA, and if it was meant for me to follow in their footsteps after that, then probably, yes, I would have made it too. But my two older brothers, Edgar and Daryl Liberty, to me was much better than I was when I was growing up.
All right. So now what was Edgar's strength? What describe what his game was like, Marcus?
So Daryl was more of the shooter, like a long range bomb shooter, but still had decent handles. Edgar had the total package. Edgar was a 6'2", can handle the ball, had a smooth jump shot, man, and could post you up. So he had a little bit of everything. So that's why I said when I watched my brothers play, I was like, man, they were some bad boys in my eyes. I didn't think nobody was better than them. And so I watched Edgar and I watched Daryl get down, and it was some family rivals. I mean, we got down sometimes that we was gonna fight each other, So that's what type of, upbringing that I had when I watched my brothers play. So everybody from my neighborhood knew this, that Edgar and Daryl Liberty was some bad boys on that court. They just, like my older brother Edgar, he just went down the wrong path, man, started using drugs. But, he still was there when he could be there for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he got kind of caught up. He got sidetracked. Edgar did, but Daryl seemed to sidestep all that stuff. How was he able to avoid it when Edgar got kind of caught up?
It's crazy, man, because everybody have different personalities,
True.
And I think some people can, grasp to the wrong thing, get in tune with the wrong things like the streets. And I think Edgar got caught up with that. And I think Daryl was borderline. He liked to hang around his older brother, Edgar, but I think he knew that he still wanted to play basketball. So he didn't let that, sidetrack him. But me, on the other hand, I saw both of them. I said, okay, Edgar's, he's going, that way. He's going more to the street side of things. And Daryl was 1 foot in, 1 foot out, meaning he didn't know if he wanted to really go play college basketball with this. So I was like, well, who do I look up to? And both of them said, just don't follow my footsteps. Just listen to some of the things that I've done and learn from them, and then you take your game to the next level. So that's what I had. They were more so mentors, big brother mentors to me.
Okay. And then Marcus, while you were in high school, man, you were the number one player in the nation in high school. What was that like, walking around the city, and then when you guys would play out of town in different places around the country, you having so much exposure at that time? What was that like, handling the number one tag in the country?
Well, you got a target on your back. And I knew that everywhere I was going to go play basketball, somebody was going to try to make their name off me, so I always had to be, mentally prepared. And also my skills had to be on point because people were coming at you. And when I knew that, because my dad, taught me a lot, by understanding how to play the game the right way as well, not just going out there jacking up all type of shots. But he also told me that it's a way to play the game. And if you play the game the right way, people going to see right through all of the fake stuff, so or what we call the hype. I was not a hype dude. I was actually a guy who can straight up ball, and people knew that, and people came out and supported me and saw me play. And that's one thing I loved about Chicago basketball.
And so Marcus and I were college teammates. I remember seeing Marcus when I was in high school, because I'm a year ahead of you, right, Liv?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I remember seeing Marcus coming up, and I don't ever remember you talking smack, Liv. I don't remember you talking on the court like it. Like Nick. I remember Nick sometimes would say some stuff. KG would say some stuff. Lowell might chirp every now and then, every blue moon, but you didn't really say anything. Why is that, Marcus? Why is it that when you were playing, you let all your playing do the talking? Why is that?
Again, it goes back to my father. My father was quiet. My uncles, they wasn't as quiet, so I did see them talk a lot of trash. I think it goes back to, Steve, what makes you go. I mean, some people can talk trash and really get down, right? I was talking trash, but it was only to that opponent. I wasn't like letting it be all out. I might say something in his ear, man, you can't guard me, but it was real silent and right into the ear, Yeah. But I had my dad tell me that a long time ago, let your game do the talking and not your mouth.
Well, you certainly did that, because I mean, man, at King High School, y'all were must-watch television, man, because you got. What year did you guys win the state championship, Marcus?
That would have been in 1986. We won it because that's the year you guys were down, and Rich Central, Kendall's team, was down. Downstate. So that would have been 86.
Now, when you guys. So viewers that don't know, in Chicago, in my opinion, it was kind of rigged against the teams in the city, because there might have been 4 teams that got to the Final Four in the Chicago Public League playoffs that could have been the 4 best teams in the state, but they all battled in the city, and there was only one team that came out of the city. So that year, Marcus, who did you guys play in the championship for the Chicago Public League Finals?
That would have been Simeon with Nick Anderson, Irvin Small, and Dion Butler, and those guys who we knew them, and Simeon was that team that people always put ahead of King, and you get tired of hearing it. I was hearing it all the time. Simeon gonna beat you guys so I was like, man, when the time is coming, when the time is right, and we both, in that position to see who was going to win for the marbles, I was like, man, we got to take it, because they're not going to give it to us. They're not going to lay down. And it was a great game, man. Nick Anderson and Irvin got hurt in that game, but we knew it was going to come down to the guard play, and our guards actually, won that ball game for us.
And where was that played, Marcus? Was that at UIC?
Yeah, that game was played at UIC Pavilion.
Okay, and I know it was sold out.
Packed house, man. Packed house.
I'm sure. And so, Marcus, you had a chance to go anywhere in the country, and you deciding on University of Illinois. How was that process, and what was kind of the final decision in your mind?
One of the toughest decisions, man, I've ever had to make. Because I was really enjoying 2 schools. I really wanted to, if I could play for 2 schools, I would have did it, because I didn't want to break anyone's heart, because Illinois was, of course, the state school, and you had you guys already there, and Syracuse was the other school that, my heart was at. So it was like, I knew I was going to be in an orange uniform. I just didn't know, which one. So it came down to, basically my mom, really sitting me down and talking to me and saying, we want to see you. Yes. And it's close to home. But you have to make the decision if you want to go play elsewhere. We'll find a way to make it, happen. But I that registered in my head that my family wanted to see me play. So that was one of the toughest decisions I made. And I'm actually happy I did make that decision because, as you know, we played Syracuse and we beat them to get to the Final Four. So that was sweet within itself.
You're watching Bardo's Breakdown. I got my man Marcus Liberty on, former Illini great, former professional, former NBA and overseas player as well. So, Lib, you get to Illinois, and we got quite a collection of talent. What were your thoughts when you first got to campus and you're finding your way, you're getting comfortable? What were your thoughts when you first got to school?
Well, I was excited, because and for one, I was like, I got an opportunity to play with some guys that I'm familiar with, and it's much easier, to make your way when you play with guys that, you're familiar with. But as you know, I couldn't play my freshman year because of the Proposition 48. So that kind of put a sour taste in my mouth because this never happened to me. And now all of a sudden I'm going to have to sit out 1 year with no playing basketball with you guys, only pickup basketball, and not practicing with you guys, not really eating with you guys. So it was, me against the world, really, and when you guys started playing and hooping, I'm watching on television, and sometimes they give me tickets to come to the game. So it was real hard. It can be mentally challenging for people, and it was definitely mentally challenging for me because I didn't know what to expect and how to even handle it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let me try to put this into perspective. What Marcus just shared with us. You're talking about an 18-year-old young man coming from Chicago, going to another environment in Champaign, and you're the number one player in the country. And so the NCAA at that time had a rule called Proposition 48, which was extremely biased and racist, in my opinion. And one of the reasons that I was able to get past that situation is because my dad was a college professor and he knew this was coming. So he knew what I needed to do academically to line up. It wasn't that Marcus didn't qualify academically. It was some other stuff that we're going to leave out, that it wasn't on Marcus that he did not qualify. It was some other stuff that let's say that Marcus laid on the sword so that a whole program could, am I saying this right, Marcus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that the Illinois program could go on about its business without extra eyes looking in on some stuff that Marcus had nothing to do with.
Right.
And so I'm explaining this because I want our viewers, Marcus, to understand how unfair the NCAA has been for decades. Who would come up with policy that would alienate young people? See, because before Marcus got there, Nick Anderson and Irvin Small were Proposition 48, but they had each other.
Mm-hmm.
They were high school teammates. They were friends. They had to go through that process together. Marcus was by himself. So if any of you all think about leaving home, going to school as an 18-year-old, and now you're isolated from the people that you signed on with. Marcus couldn't practice with us. We barely saw Marcus. And like he said, when the season got going, sometimes we'd see Liv, sometimes we wouldn't. And I didn't understand, nor did most of us understand, the mental anguish that you went through. How did you deal during that year, Marcus, in your low times?
Bardo, it was times I wanted to quit. And a lot of people didn't know that. It was times that I really wanted to just say, you know what, let me transfer and let me go to a junior college. At least I could be able to play basketball and still, get my academics, right. But it was something that was eating at me, saying, you know what, I can't leave these guys. It's not Bardo's fault. It's not Nick's fault. It's not, you guys fought, so I shouldn't turn my back and say, you know what, forget it, let's do it. I saw something, there, but then mentally, like you said, it kept coming back that I
Sure.
can't even do anything.
Sure.
I can't practice. I can't do, because I think if I would have practiced or was able to play my freshman year, that second year would have been crazy, off the charts with me getting the season of Big Ten play up under my belt and then understanding how to play the game a little bit more. Because I know a lot of people talk about Lou Henson, but Lou Henson was a great defensive coach,
Yes, he was.
and I tell people this when they talk to me. And it's okay if he didn't understand the offensive side of things, because I think if he let us play a little bit more freely on that offensive side, I think the University of Illinois would have won at least 2 championships under Lou Henson's belt.
I agree, Liv, because the thing of it is, we didn't really need a whole lot of direction on the offensive end, because we liked each other enough that it's like, all right, Liv's got the hot hand. We're going to ride Liv until they do something different. And you were such ladies and gentlemen, I call Marcus a savant, because Liv is 6'8", but he really, really could have run the point guard. He probably should have been taking my spot and running the point guard position, because he had handle, he could score, he could pass, he could set cats up, he could get in the post. And so I agree with you, Liv. We really didn't need a ton of direction on the offensive side, and Lou Henson was an excellent, excellent defensive coach. So, Liv, when you started playing and we started getting into it a little bit and you started getting your feet wet, I know that Coach was a little bit more strict and wanting you to have back to the basket. What do you think your college career would have looked like had you been able to play your natural position? What do you think your natural position was? 2?
Yeah, I would have said the 2.
Okay.
Playing the 2 spot, the wing, but also can bring the ball up at certain times, push it. And I just think that's what the game is at now. If you watch it, that's where the game's at now. But I think, I was like the 10 man at first. You had to put some oil on me on certain things so I can understand how to move this way. And once I figured it out, I think it helped, us, get to where we were at, because if I didn't understand my role, which I never really had a role when I was playing high school basketball, because I was always the man. But when I went to the University of Illinois, Lou Henson wasn't having that. Like, this is what you got to do if you want to play, basketball. And my siblings used to get mad. Why are you out there setting screens? Why are you down screening? Why are you not coming off the screens? And I'm like, that is the coach. I have to listen to the coach if I want to play.
That's right.
But did it hurt me, for the next level? Yes, it did, because a lot of the scouts were saying, I don't think Marcus is a back to the back player, but we haven't seen him shoot enough to even say he can make it into the NBA, so it was just one of those. And if I ever coached at college, I would never, I know I'm jumping all over Bardo, but
that's all right. No, this is good.
If I've ever became a college coach, I would recruit kids as I saw them, so if I saw Bardo, if I walked into Carbondale and I saw Bardo bring the ball up, Bardo posting up sometime, Bardo making great passes, I have to let Bardo be him. So if I try to change your game, right, to fit my system, then maybe you wasn't right for my system.
Yep.
So maybe I need to go get kids that fits my system. And I think that's what happens a lot of times to a lot of kids, that people write bad things about, saying, well, you were a bust because you didn't do this and that, not knowing that it was the coach's responsibility to play you the way you are capable of playing. And if that doesn't happen, then you see certain players fall off certain lists.
Man, ladies and gentlemen, Marcus just said something very succinct in a way that a lot of people will see players and they will swear, oh, this kid was a bust, he didn't pan out, not knowing half of what's going on behind the scenes. And what Marcus is illustrating, in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, is the power that college coaches have over the lives, not just basketball careers, but the lives of young people. Marcus and Kendall Gill, Nick Anderson, Lowell Hamilton, Larry Smith, Irvin Small, Andy Kaufman, all the guys we played with, PJ Bowman, Rod Jones, Andy Petty, all the guys that we played with at Illinois, they dedicated their lives to this game. So as a science student or a math student would go on into their field, we were trying to do the same thing. And if you don't make the right decision, or you get a coach that pigeonholes a player that was ahead of his time, like Marcus Liberty, it affects the rest of your life, ladies and gentlemen. And, you know, Marcus being very gracious here, but as we've gotten older and further away from our experience, there's a lot of resentment there. And I know it is from your part, Marcus, because I'm resentful that you had to go through that process. And maybe the Marcus Liberty that we really wanted to see at the NBA level didn't materialize because of what happened at college. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say, and I think a lot of people would agree with you too. Seeing a guy get the ball off the rebound and pushing the ball at 6'8" and making the right play. I'm not saying I needed to do that every time, but I think it would have helped me be a little bit more loose out there on the court and not so tight, and when you have tightness, it's hard for you to play the game of basketball.
That's right.
And I just thought that, you see I read a lot of articles about different players, even in this generation of basketball. That's why people are transferring, because you told me this is what you were going to be. And when I get there, it's not the same, and that's why I see a lot of the kids are transferring too, along with the name, image, and likeness. But that's a whole nother story. But I do believe that coaches, when you walk into a high school gymnasium or AAU program and you see these kids playing basketball and you get excited about having them on your campus and in your program, then that's what you recruited them for.
That's right.
So why all of a sudden when you get them, you change it? So now mentally the kid is saying to themselves, I can't even bring the ball up. Coach won't even let me do that. But I was doing it on the AAU circuit or in high school. Yep. So I think that's the misconception of what a lot of these kids don't understand. And that's why I always say, do your homework now. If I would have did my homework, because I was watching the University of Illinois because of Ephraim Winters. Ephraim Winters was there, and he came from the same high school that I did. But Ephraim was a center. So I was just getting excited for Ephraim because Ephraim was getting a lot of touches because he was a center, and Lou Henson liked to play inside. Mm-hmm. So I was getting excited. So I was like, man. But then if I would have watched a guy like Anthony Welch, I would have probably said, Anthony Welch ain't really doing it like that, but he's smooth. I know he's smooth. But I wasn't paying attention. So I tell kids now, make sure you pay attention to everything. Pay attention to the details, how the coach is reacting, how the coach is playing that certain player that emulates a little bit of your game.
Oh, that's a great point. Marcus is referring to Anthony Welch, who played at Illinois before us. And it's interesting that Anthony and Marcus's game were similar. I think Marcus was more talented, but ice was nice. Anthony Welch was really nice. 6'8", 6'9", had a similar skill set as Marcus, could handle, could shoot, could post up. He was a lot stronger than he looked. Mm-hmm. So that's a great comparison. So, and now I don't want to make it sound like Marcus's college career was all negative, because it wasn't. Because he was part of the Flyin Illini. We made it to the Final Four. And Marcus, draft night, what were you being told about the possibilities for you to get drafted? Where were you being told?
Well, I worked out for Milwaukee Bucks, and Milwaukee Bucks, actually called my house and told me on draft day that they was going to pick me at the 16th pick. So I was fine. I was like, I'm going to get drafted first round, 16th pick. So I was chilling, man. We had bottles of champagne in the house. We was ready to pop. So when the 15th pick came, we was like, okay, let's get the champagne ready.
Right.
So it was all, I was ready, man. Something must have happened, Steve, within that phone call in between all the way up to that 15, 16 pick, get ready to be picked. Something happened, and I just don't know what. No one never really told me, and again, a mental breakdown for me because I was like, here it is. This team called me. It was a female. She was like, "Hey, Mrs. Marcus Liberty." I said, "Yeah." She's like, "This is the such and such at the Milwaukee Bucks. We're going to draft you. Make sure your phone lines are clear and open. No one on the phone." So I'm like, yes. And the 16th pick comes, Steve, and Milwaukee Bucks selects Terry Mills out of Michigan. Whoa. Whoa. So my draft night was one of those where I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't know if I was going to even get drafted because I knew I worked out for Milwaukee Bucks. I knew I worked out for Portland. But those teams already had kind of picked their players. I think Portland had another pick, but they didn't draft me. And then all of a sudden, the second round come right after you. I watched when you got drafted, and the Denver Nuggets was up for the selection, and they selected me, and that was it.
So, Marcus, did you have an agent during the time that you were, during draft night?
Yeah, I had an agent, Keith Glass out of New Jersey. Yep. He represented me. I don't even know how I really got in contact with him because he wasn't from Chicago.
Okay.
And I think it was a street runner from Chicago that was, all out there. I want to say his name probably was Ross. You remember Ross?
I don't remember Ross. I remember Keith Glass though.
Yeah.
Very well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he saw me in the pro-am and he said some things a while back. It's like, man, I got an agent for you. Because my mom and dad didn't know anything about the sports agency world either. Sure. And so he introduced me to Keith, and that's how I got with Keith Glass.
And so you had a possibility of going first round at number 16, and you slide to 42nd in the second round. But I thought it was a pretty good fit because talk about your rookie season with Denver and the opportunities that you were able to get, Marcus.
Wow, Bardo, I can go into like details on things that happened, man, when Doug Moe actually called me, and then I actually sat down with him at McNichols Arena at the time, and he loved me. He said, you are the steal of the draft to me. You fit our mold, what we like. We want to push the ball. You big. You can handle it. You can shoot it. And before the season even started, he gets fired. But before that even happened, I had to go play in the summer league because it wasn't guaranteed that I was going to make money in the second round. So, and you remember the rookie review.
Yeah.
I think it was it in San Antonio then? Or
I think it was in Salt Lake, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Salt Lake City.
Yeah. So I had to go and play in that. And I was like, I had a chip on my shoulder now because I didn't go where I thought I was going to go. So I'm like, man, yeah, I want to play. My agent was like, you sure? I said, yeah, I want to play, man. He said, you got money on the table. You got a $400,000 overseas contract right now, guaranteed if you want to take that. I said, no, I'm going to prove myself. So I go to the rookie, review in Utah, and the first game we playing, and I think I had like 20-some points, and Doug Moe was still the coach. He was just watching. So he comes in, he says, your agent on the phone. He had one of those cell phones, and he says, your agent on the phone. I'm like, okay. So my agent gets on. He said, what are you doing down there? I said, just hooping. I'm playing. He said, well, they want to give you a guaranteed 3-year contract. And they want that done now. I'm like, oh, okay. So I got real excited and happy, that happened, so quickly, and when that happened, I started just balling out the rest of the week, man. And then Doug Moe goes back, and Denver, they said he's no longer the coach. And I'm like, what? I said, man, I was excited about playing for him because I already knew what he was about because I was working out with him in Denver and this and that. And then when I get the news, they bring in Paul Westhead. Paul Westhead is another up and down, type of coach. So I was still like, okay. But I think I'm just going to say it, I think he got kind of manipulated by the older players. And he bought into playing the older players when you had guys like, Jerome Lane, Chris Jackson, aka now no better known as Mahmoud Abdul Rauf,
Yeah.
myself, and you had guys that can get up and down that court really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
But he was playing guys like Walter Davis, and no disrespect to them because they did their thing in the NBA. But I don't think that pace, that Paul Westhead was doing was suited for them guys at that time because they were old.
Sure.
You know, yeah, Walter Davis' nickname was the Greyhound,
Mm-hmm.
but he wasn't no Greyhound then. and then you had Orlando Woolridge and Michael Adams. Michael Adams, I think, he made the All-Star team under that. So he really fit in right perfectly with it because he was shooting all the balls too.
Yep.
So, but that's what happened, man. And I didn't play as much as I thought I could have, but I did play as a rookie. So I was real pleased with, at least getting on the floor, playing at least 18 minutes a game as my rookie season started.
And so as you complete your rookie season and you go back to Denver, or is that when you went to Detroit? Take me through after your rookie season.
I went back, because I signed that 3-year deal, remember? So
mm-hmm.
I went back to Denver and was excited, to play. But here it goes again. Westhead gets fired.
He goes 1 year live and he got fired after that?
And they brought in Dan Issel. Yeah, Dan Issel.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan Issel is now the coach, and Dan Issel used to do all the games. So he was like, he pulled me to the side. He's like, hey, kid, I already know what you can do, this and that. And I started the first 10 games, the season, averaging about 14 points a game. And then I don't know we always say politics, but I don't know what happened after that. I don't know, but I just know I got taken out of the starting lineup, and that was it. I started coming off the bench, but I still was playing, and I was still happy that I was part of the Nuggets organization. But then Mutombo came that next year, that second year. So Mutombo, everything was going through Mutombo that year. And Mutombo had a great rookie season for us. We had Mahmoud, Mutombo, Mark Macon.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So was Alfonso Ellis in that too, or did Alfonso Ellis come next year?
I think he probably came the next year.
Yeah, he came the next year because that's when 93 is when they beat Seattle. Yep. So yeah, he came the following year. But that was we were seeing a change in Denver, with Mount Mutombo coming, and things were looking like it was going to be, about the younger guys, growing and getting getting the Nuggets to where they need to be. And that next year, that's the year you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That 93 season came, and here it is, I just wanted to play. It didn't matter if I came off the bench or what have you. I just wanted to play. And my agent, I'm getting ready for the third season, and we about to start our season. We playing, and I get a phone call, and they say I was just been traded to Detroit. So that's what you were talking about when you said, did you get traded? So that was in that 92, 93 season that I got traded to go, to Detroit. And that's a lot of stuff to be going through, man. Like I'm sharing it with you on your show, but it's a lot mentally, from being celebrated as, one of the best high school basketball players to going to college and not being that dude that, people wanted you to be.
Sure.
And you read that stuff and it mentally, it wears on you. Mm-hmm. And same thing in with the NBA, it mentally drained me because I'm like, it's like, you don't want me. When you trade me, it's like, you don't want me. And so it kind of put me in a place, man, that I didn't even know how to get out of. And I think that's when it started to spiral down for me because I didn't really understand what the basketball business side was all about. So when I get traded to Detroit, Isaiah Thomas is one of the first guys I meet. He's like, I already told the coach what you can do. You can handle the ball, do. So I'm I'm kind of getting excited, but then again, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I should or not. And so enough, didn't play at all for Detroit, really, man. And so it kind of put me in a place where I started drinking. I started, just not really focusing on anything but, hanging outside of the basketball court. And next thing you know, I was out of the league. So a lot of people don't know that story, man, but I didn't want to go outside. I didn't want to do anything, man. It was like, man, why even go through this stuff? But then again, Bardo, I said, you know what? My lessons I can share with other people. I have a nephew that I share all of this knowledge with, of how, you can be up here one day and then the next day you can be, on the ground or, and people won't even recognize you or even talk about you anymore. So he understands that, and I understand that's my duty to do that, so I can't hang my head low and wonder about what if, my path was my path, and that's the way it's going to be, and I'm not going to look at it any other way.
And Marcus is referring to Javon Freeman-Liberty, his nephew, who had an outstanding season with DePaul. And I knew the first time I saw him play at Valparaiso, he's a pro. And I'm hopeful that the NBA will do right by him. And I'm sure, Marcus, you get quite a bit of enjoyment interacting with Javon. You even mentioned that you're going to see him pretty soon because he's going through some workouts.
Yep, he's been through a lot of NBA workouts. He had like 4 of them already.
Okay.
And the sports agent he's represented by, they're gonna have a pro day, so he's gonna have the opportunity to play in front of them. Javon is a lot like me, but I think I'm taller, so I can do a little bit more. So I can go get a rebound and then say, you know what, y'all not giving me the ball, so I can go push it up.
Right.
Because when Javon is a coachable player, so if a coach tells him to do certain things, he's going to do it. And sometimes, and I had to tell him about this in this G League camp, and I can share this with your listeners, who may have a basketball player who is a student of the game, who loves the game. But when you're in those type of settings, everybody's for themselves. Even though it's 5 against 5, you thinking of it mentally that this is a team setting. Each one of those guys, each one of those individuals are trying to impress those scouts in there. And Javon didn't understand that because he had 8 points one game and 9 points, 5 assists, 4 assists. And I had to tell him that's not good enough. But he was like, that was a solid game. I said, yeah, that's a solid game for a team in a team setting.
Yep.
And I think a lot of kids get confused. They don't understand. Well, I didn't turn the ball over. I didn't do this. I only took 6 shots. No, they want you to shoot the ball till you don't have no more clips in your arm, and I was trying to explain that to him. So he gets it now. He gets it now that, I got to display my talents amongst these scouts.
And how's the process going for him so far, Marcus, with it? Is he, because I know there's some fatigue there because they really work you hard and he might have stuff lined up back to back. How's the process going for him so far?
You know what? A couple of the teams that he worked out for early on, they was like, man, he's in the best shape. They ran him through a lot of drills and 3-on-3s, and he was doing well in them, And I think when he got to that G League combine, it was different, because it was only 3 against 3. Now it's 5 against 5. And everybody wants to touch that ball. So if you throw that ball to such and such over here on this right side, you might not get that ball back, So it was things that I was I wish I could have told them, but I couldn't get to them, because they were so busy, man, down in Chicago. Yep. But I told them, you got to take this as a experience, right? Of now I know that everybody out there on that court is trying to go somewhere. And it's not that they don't like you. It's like they already been programmed to say, when you in this setting, it's all about you.
Yep.
And when you get to that team and get drafted, then you can start thinking about how you're going to position yourself and be that team type, that player. So he knows now.
You're watching Bardo's Breakdown. I got my man Marcus Liberty on with me. So Marcus, I'm going to transition a little bit away from the game. I think you've done a really good job of transitioning out of basketball. You work with youth down in the Sarasota area, and you also have started some media things. Can you share that with our viewers?
The basketball is always going to be a part of me, Bardo, no matter what. So the camps and the free clinics and the speaking and engagements that I go out and speak to high schools and middle schools about basketball, about my life. That's just something I think was in me, and it just took a while for it to come out. But the media part was something that was completely thrown off. Like this was nothing that I was trying to do. But when COVID came, me and the guy by the name of Bobby Reed got together and started doing a podcast called All Ball Chicago, where we wanted us to just talk about Chicago and basketball legends or guys that we grew up with, and just wanted to share some stories that they may not have gotten the ink in the newspapers back in the day to say what they really wanted to say about their game. So we give them the opportunity to do that. But not only in Chicago now, we reaching out and people want to come on from all over. Just to get on All Ball Chicago and talk basketball with us and talk about what they're up to.
And Marcus, how has that experience been? You building up a media presence, because I think last time I checked, All Ball Chicago, you all got 2,900 in your private group, and I don't even know what you have on your page, but it looks like it's been real successful. How has all this transformed for you?
It's like. It's been overwhelmed for me, for real, Bardo, to be quite frankly with you, that, people reaching out and saying, what, how can we get you in our network, and we actually talks with some people now about, trying to get this out, on a wider broad, to see other people listening to, because they said the content that we were having and the guests we were having on there, that people want to hear those type of stories in different countries, so we in talks with people now about that. So to make a long story short, this was something I was not expecting, Bardo. Me and you talked a little bit about, what to do, and I'm asking you questions because I know you in that field, and to have certain guests come on your show and you listening, I know you probably get the same vibe and feel for people. Hearing a story makes you become a better listener and a better person as well. And that's what I used to get out of them when I'm hearing stories. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that, and they're sharing their stories. Just like I'm sharing my stories with, your listeners, how people can say, what, I thought such and such was a bad dude because of what the newspapers and the media was putting out there about him. But now he's getting a chance to express himself on a podcast that's all about, uplifting and positive. And he's getting a chance to share his story. And you hear it and you're like, wow, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a powerful medium. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure you go to All Ball Chicago on Facebook, because Marcus and Robert do a fantastic job. And I mean, they've had a who's who on there. So go back and binge on the earlier shows, because they do a fantastic job. And I love the fact that did you guys have Dorothy Gators on there one time?
Dorothy Gators, yes, man. And
you talk about some stories, because she's royalty here in Chicago. How was that? How was that interview with her, Marcus?
You just let her go, right? That's the queen of Chicago basketball, so she was really excited to come on, and she was happy that we gave her that opportunity and that platform, because I think a lot of times, people like herself probably get bombarded by people and want them to, do all this. But I was like, Dorothy, I just want you to come on and just share a story, share some stories with some of the listeners. And you hear the stories of how many girls that she put through the WNBA and college, and giving girls an opportunity to play basketball that may not have maybe got that opportunity to play basketball if they were in some other city, but she got the best out of her players, man. And they all come back and they love her. And she's been with Marshall over 40, 50 years, in Marshall High School, and her siblings was there. I was like, wow. So she's a commando for forever.
Yep. Oh, that's real. And so, Marcus, where you and Robert want to take this eventually? Like, what would be the end game? What would be the perfect scenario for you in All Ball Chicago?
You know what, Bardo? I just want to keep doing it the way we doing it, man. I don't want people to control it. I just want to, keep. So it's not about money, with me as far as this goes. And I know a lot of people do it, these podcasts for the money. It's me. It's like therapy for me, really, because I get an opportunity to talk to some of these people, and also get an opportunity to do my little research on some of the guests that we have coming on, and then not go out and dig up dirt on them, but I'm actually digging up to just talk and say, man, you played basketball for this, many years, and such happened, and why you did, like, you the same thing that you doing to me. Why did you choose, Illinois?
Yep.
I just like to do things like that and let them express how they feel, and it's just it just fulfills my heart, man, when I hear these stories coming from people.
So, Marcus, where can people find you online if they want to follow you?
Actually, personally, if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter under GiveMeLiberty.com, and then also I'm on Instagram. Same thing, Give Me Liberty at Give Me Liberty number 30. So I'm actually got a book coming out too, Bardo. So the book probably we almost finished with it. I did a book with co-wrote it with Lefty B. Boyd.
Yeah.
So it's different, man. I'm telling you that now. The flavor and everything is gonna be different, man. And so I'm excited about that. And we probably gonna drop that sometime in the fall.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get 10 copies of it because I want to support you and what you're doing. I know that you've got some great lessons in that book, and I just want to support what you're doing, Liv, because I love the work you're doing with the young people. I love your growing media presence, and you are an inspiration to all of us based on the character and the humble man that you are. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus Liberty. For those that don't know, those that know Liv, he's one of the best people you ever meet. Got a heart of gold, and he'll give you the shirt off his back. And that's one of the reasons I wanted you to share your story with our viewers, because like you said, Marcus, people will see and hear things about who Marcus Liberty is, but hopefully they got some insight into what we all know that have played with you and love you, that you're one of the best people that I've ever met. And I'll stand on that. So I appreciate your time, and thanks for joining us today, Liv.
Man, I appreciate it, man. Bardo's Breakdown.
That'll do it, y'all, for this edition of Bardo's Breakdown. That's why I say check back, because you never know who I can have on or who will drop by. Thanks to Marcus Liberty for this particular episode. And until next time, y'all, peace.